What is up, maniacs? Welcome back to WMMA Mania here on another special Wednesday. I apologize for the inconveniences once again. A lot of crazy things going on, but I'm so glad to see you here today. Appreciate you tuning in oh so much to episode 32. I am your host, as always, Drake Riggs, here providing you all the goods in the world of mixed martial arts when it comes to the women specifically. You can find all your MMA needs here on WMMAnia.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on the channel and the video. You can even hit that notification bell so you don't miss a gosh darn thing. But at least hit the like button. If you don't want to do all that other stuff, really helps us out a whole bunch. Greatly appreciate it. And we're just happy to see you here. We have a recapathon, as you can see by the title of today's episode. We had, 5 events this past weekend, which we previewed, and there was a whole lot to preview, and we impressively made good time last week. Proud of myself on that, and you guys for your contributions as always. But we have Invicta Fc49 in the books. My goodness, can't wait to get into that one. 161 went down, and I thought it was 181 last week. I swear, for some reason, I thought that's what number we were at. I wish they just would have went with the numbers from the beginning, but they're doing the numbered events now, so that's where we're at. But they also had one on Prime Video 2 that same day. Madness there. Very excited to talk about that as well. Bellator 286, UFC Vegas 61. Those are all the events that happened. My goodness. And now we get another break. So there's going to be no previews today. Just some news coming up after that, and maybe we'll highlight some special points or highlights of the recaps of all the things that happened in the past weekend. Pretty great weekend of action. I mean, when there's so many cards going down, happening, it better be good. It better be a good weekend. It'll be hard not to be when there's that much content, that much action being provided to you. So I would say it delivered. I was satisfied with all the events that went down, except for maybe a main event there or two. None of the women's fights specifically, but Pitbull versus Boric, if I'm just to call it out. And it wasn't the most entertaining fight. Pitbull, very impressive, of course, but that was a very one-sided affair. But we're not here to talk about that. We're not here to talk about that at all. So let me sort things out here again. And if you guys are tuning in, any of you are on Twitter, I might as well point you in the direction of either Facebook or YouTube, preferably YouTube if you would like to interact in the chat. Get some comments on the screen, questions, concerns, whatever you may have. I'm here to answer them to the best of my abilities throughout today's general hour and a half episode that we like to do. So everybody spring into action here. Let me see what is going on. Oh my goodness. Jin kicking things off with an important message, he says. To all those saying the state of 115 is unclear, the strawweight division is as clear as day after Weili beats Esparza. Rose is next. No one is entitled for a chance to fight for the belt. It's up to UFC. First of all, very surprised that you would say Rose is next. I disagree with that, Jin. As you say, Marina lost her chance when she turned down Weili at 275, which Marina would have been outclassed anyway. Disagree on both of those. Marina is still, she's got to win her fight first, obviously, against Lemos coming up, tough one. But she is definitely still ahead of Rose. She's been winning. She's on a winning streak. I mean, obviously, you could say what you want about Rose's loss and it being what it was, the fight that it was. But I disagree with you strongly on both of those counts. Appreciate your opinion, though. Jin says, so people need to stop complaining and accept the fact that Willie's the only 115 that matters and is rightfully fighting for a belt next. Well, disagree with that as well, but agree to disagree. Nobody else is improving or adding difference. Disagree pretty much entirely with you there, Jin, but appreciate your thoughts all the same. Happy to have you here, buddy. Citro says, Drake, you always want positivity, but I think it's pretty fair that we will be pretty fair that we be negative due to UFC card we had. DeCoursey winning is the only positive. Yes, please, let's be as positive as we can. Off to not a great start here. There's some things I didn't like about the UFC card specifically in terms of the non-fight related stuff, but I don't think we'll get into that very much. But yeah, no, like I said, I enjoyed this weekend greatly. So I guess you guys are just on an island this time. Drew says Marina and Xiaonan are not on the same level as Weili or Rose. Their striking and wrestling is predictable. Those two are tailor-made for Weili and Rose to beat. Interesting Rose love that you guys are giving here. I did not expect that today. This is all coming at me so quickly. Again, I disagree with that. I think that they are all very competitive with each other, and we've kind of seen that so far, and what we have seen. Makoto, good to see you. Excited to talk about fights. Armed with my questions that will make Drake think. Oh, that's always good, man. I love me a good, thought-provoking question. So looking forward to it, especially since we'll see how kind of the flow of this show goes with the lack of the previews, like I said, but it's a whole bunch to recap. So we'll see. As Jimmy says, the real winner of this weekend was Ghost. He called that Lee likes to run into the clinch when her opponent is backed up, and called that Yan needs to sidekick the knee and front kick to the body to win. He's a smart fella, and very excited to talk about both of those fights. Great weekend for China. Chinese MMA, two of the best fighters ever from the country, for being honest, Xiaonan and Panda. So we'll get to that. Rain says, the Angela Lee of Screaming Robbery, the Austin Vanderford taken to the board when I don't agree how a fight is scored. I don't get the Austin Vanderford comment there, but we will get into that as well. Ghost has a specific question. All right, yeah, let's save it. Let's kind of save some of the bigger questions. I appreciate this influx here. You guys are there's a whole bunch to talk about. So yeah, we'll get through it as good as we can here. Jumbo, good to see you. Says Jiaonan said Han said when she mentioned Rose. On the Hawani MMA hour, which means very good, but translator messed up and said best, but I'm not going to defend her since I don't like her wooden personality. Okay. Oh, so I think what you're getting at there, Jumbo, apologies for misreading potentially, but you're trying to say that Jiaonan did not say that Rose is the best in the division, but she's good. And I mean, Xiaonan's been wanting to fight Rose for a good while now. And again, we'll get to this where things could lead. But yeah, she even said that to me when I talked to her. I think we've talked about that multiple times now at this point, honestly. Sammy says, hi, Drake. Remember what I DM'd you? Watch out for his comments. I saw him on Henry Sudo's chat yesterday saying the same things. Yes, I've been paying attention, Sammy. I thank you for looking out. But yes, I've definitely been aware of that. Alvin, my man, king of positivity here. MMA is a paradox in itself. Fighters display violence in the cage, but they are trying to convey mankind's courage to conquer themselves, to overcome prejudice and adversities. Wow, giving us a Weili quote. I've never heard that one. Beautiful stuff, though. Great way to incorporate all the ties here, Alvin. Get the positivity and nice quote from obviously a fan favorite around these parts. James, you don't remember, but after 268, Marina and Xiaonan on James Lynch said if Weili doesn't want to fight Joanna, they were willing to fight Joanna. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I've spoken about them about that as well. And James says, and they thought they would get a title shot if they won. So when Weili gets a title shot off beating a girl, two top gunners keep calling out. Why do people get mad? Well, they'd probably feel the same way. We just didn't get to see it, right? They could say they want the fight, but if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't really matter. So Galactus staying nice and high. Go for it, my man. Alex, my man as well. What is up, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Always good to see you. We're doing some good, fun things over at MMA Mania here. So do not miss a lick on the channel, on the website. A lot going on these days. And yes, I'll get into the shameless plugs later, but there's plenty for you. Rue, Dern, and Jiaonan was as bad as Dern versus... Okay, glad. Now we're getting carried away. That's where you cross the line, Rue. Disagree strongly. Again, both of those fights we will get into, but very good fights. Z, good to see you. How likely do you think a fourth meeting between Lee and Zhang would be? Do you think it would be in MMA? I will answer the second part. Yes, it would have to be, but we'll talk about that when we get there. As I finish up here, the first 10 minutes of all the comments. Appreciate you guys. It's great interaction as always. Marina would have been outclassed. Against Rose and Weili. Wrestling and striking for Weili is too high. Marina had trouble with Yan and followed her. What can she do to Weili? These are these hypotheticals that I don't want to worry about these at this exact moment, Jin, when they both have different opponents going on. But to say that, like, I just don't think that's fair to say necessarily. And you know what people are going to say, Jin, when you say that they're on these different levels? They're going to mention the Daniel Taylor fight. You know this. That's what people will say. So don't overestimate them when they're only losing to people around them. They're all in the same group. Sure, maybe one will win over the others and whatnot, but they're all very talented and at the top for a reason. As Ghost says, no, I win this weekend because Yana and Panda had won in close fights where they didn't look elite and no one is really excited about them. Well, again, disagree with a little bit of that, but yes, they did win. As James says, sorry, not a good UFC card. I mean, the card overall, yeah, that was definitely not the best card of the weekend. I think that's fair to say, but we'll get to that at the end of the recaps here, since that happened lastly among everything. But we will kick things off with Invicta Fc49, which happened first a full week ago now. Wednesday, we did the show on the same day as Invicta 49 because of my scheduling issues. So let's pull up the card here. It's my goodness, what a way to really kick off the MMA week with results and performance. I mean, the Zillion DeCoursey show, as we have the new champ, friend of the show, the most recent guest host that we've had, Zillion DeCoursey, pulls it off with a first-round rear naked choke over Jessica Delboni. I'm pretty sure that is the first time that Delboni's even been finished before. Only 3 losses, right? One of which was a total robbery against Battello. And then the other 2, I can barely even remember. They were so long ago. I mean, it doesn't get much more impressive than that. Delboni obviously has looked sensational as of late. I mean, the first Battello fight to then the Phoenix tournament, winning those 3 fights in one night, then outclassing Zapatoni. I'm all over the place. Battello again. And then DeCoursey obviously got her phenomenal, flawless masterclass knockout under a minute there against Van Zandt. Then comes in and submits Delboni the way that she did, defending a takedown against the cage and using it to transition. Just beautifully trapping the arm there in just a wonderful sequence. And then getting on the neck. And I was, as it was happening, I was like, right once she had the arm around, I was like, oh, that is tight enough. You can tell that, Jillion's going to squeeze as much of the life out of this person as she possibly can. And it wasn't quite under the chin, but slowly just kept getting there. And only 11 seconds, too many seconds for Delboni to survive. And just crazy, just absolutely crazy. What a career kind of turnaround for DeCoursey. Not that she's been on like a bad, downside or anything, or was prior to these last 2 wins, but like for her to go from where she was to these phenomenal finishes back to back, first round, and become the champion, and now or like a top 5, top 6 atomweight in the world. Pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. So like right now, I mean, we got to be honest, Zillion DeCoursey is right in the conversation for female fighter of the year, no doubt about it. I mean, incredible 2 victories, and then the story with it and the title. I mean, you cannot really be happy enough for her. Big congratulations to Lionheart, the Jilly Bean, friend of the show. We will try and get her on once again as soon as we can. I would hope for next week, you guys. I'll give you a spoiler. I will hope for next week. I thought it would have been fun this week, but I think, let her celebrate and continue to enjoy herself. But since we will have no recaps next week, it'll be fun to get her on. So if you guys are on Twitter, maybe you can annoy her and tell her to come back, but I'll still message her, and should be pretty easy, communication anyways. But if you want to really ram it on home to have the champ now here on the show once again, that would be a good old fun time. Just crazy, really crazy though. And just a feel good moment of the year for the last way that I expected this fight to go. Honestly, like I didn't really think that we'd get a finish in this one. I thought that we'd probably get a decision either way, a hard fought decision in either direction. But my goodness, not even close to that. Not even close. And Rain says, if we say that every card is good, then what card is really good? I didn't enjoy the UFC main event this week. Am I wrong to feel that way? I think so for the main event, but the card overall, like I said, wasn't. Yeah, I didn't think it was It was fine. I mean, if I don't remember too much from an event, then that's always not a good thing. And that honestly happens to me about a lot of the fight nights for the most part. So like what? We had the Randy Brown, Trinaldo, co-main, which yeah, that was a fight. Yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't very memorable. Um, yeah. So I mean, I didn't mean to say that one was good, but I think overall it was a good weekend. Not an overall good UFC card, maybe, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm always trying to keep it real as well. Um, Jin says, let me just add that when Wei Li was champ, people were saying all these fighters would beat her, so I'm just throwing the shade back. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, people do that about champs all the time, though, man. Like, especially new champs, ones that haven't defended their belt, and then if they have maybe a close one to start things out. Like I'm trying to think of an example here. I mean, Carla's obviously a really good one right now, but not quite the same situation. Um, I mean, I feel like Usman got that maybe a little bit at first. Adesanya even like it happens to a lot of the champs, especially when they first become. I mean, it's still happening to Oliveira. He's not the champ technically right now, but like, geez, the fact that this guy is the underdog still is crazy. Centro Jelly Bean, yes. Rue says, did we get a Phantom Punch? Not yet. We didn't. Not yet. Maybe later. Maybe later. What do we got here? So if we got to break down, that would be one of the few positives that we get. Okay, my goodness. Rain says Jillian was awesome. Love that. Sammy says yes, but Carla deserves all the shade right now. Okay, well, there's that. But yes, very, very impressive stuff from Jillian. Just crazy. It was really, really stunning. Ketlin Souza comes in, gets the win over Maiju Soetama, who was filling in the co-main. Missed this one, admittedly. I was talking to somebody. I think I was filming some Broaden Horizon right in the middle of this event. So I finished up an interview right in time to get to the main event, or I had it like sandwiched. I had one person before and then one after. So I didn't get to catch this just yet, but I'm not surprised by that result. I am surprised by Machado defeating Tracy. I missed that one as well, unfortunately. Very curious to see how that went. Bummer for Liz Tracy. She finally makes strawweight weight and then loses. So I'll have to go check that one out. Caitlyn Neal versus Hannah Guy. Phenomenal performance from Caitlyn Neal. That was really good stuff. She nearly finished Hannah Guy, in the second round with the body shots there. I don't know if I've ever seen such a kind of weird sequence of a fighter holding their gut like with one arm and being kind of like trying to. It was very bizarre and kind of you could say a negative for Neil not being able to finish Guy in that moment, but overall she looked pretty good and was relatively dominant in this one. Again, what a weird career it's been for Hannah Guy. As I said last week, upsets Valerie Loretta and Bellator. They don't keep her around. She goes back to the regional scene, beats someone, gets on the Ultimate Fighter, loses there, then goes to Invicta and loses here. Very odd. Very odd. Battello versus Peralta. This one was it was all right. Kind of played out as I expected it to as well. Botelho needed to, close that distance, not really play around with Peralta's boxing, which is exactly what she did. And my goodness, big size advantage here for Pollyanna in that one, which not surprising. I mean, she's a pretty big flyweight, but it was kind of jarring to see kind of that difference. Rendon versus Cloudy. So one of the robberies, one of our classic Invicta robberies that we have to get every single event. My goodness, it's just a bummer. Even when we leave Kansas or Missouri, either one, they're both the worst in MMA. Oklahoma finds a way to fuck it up as well. It's just Invicta. There's something about these. I don't know. For some reason, they get like shitty judges no matter where they go. No matter where they go. Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, Utah, wherever they go, they just don't understand what's going on. Like I don't see any way that Rendon won that fight. The volume very. I mean, if you saw it, I don't even need to explain it. It was bad, and it's just such a disservice to these fighters. Now Brittany Cloudy drops to a below 500 record because of incompetence. Like, it just drives you crazy. You hate that shit. And Rendon is still undefeated, 5-0. Like, how absurd. How absurd. And it's like nothing against Rendon. I have nothing against her whatsoever, but my goodness, use your eyeballs, man. That was not a hard one to figure out. And then in the opener, Shawna Bannon defeated Nadia Vera. I missed that one as well, unfortunately. A little bit late to the show. I don't remember what I was doing at that moment. Probably finishing up an article or something. But Ireland, she's putting them on the map there at strawweight. So maybe a new Aisling Daly of sorts, at least. I don't want to. There's no comparison there aside from them being Irish, so I shouldn't say that, but yeah, we'll see where it goes. So, not the greatest Invicta card ever, but I did enjoy what I saw for the most part, aside from the nonsense in the split, in the robbery. And again, this fight was okay. Was impressed by Caitlyn Neal, but then unimpressed by the lack of getting the finish there. And then obviously Zillion DeCoursey was chef's kiss. These last two performances from her have been pure chef's kiss. And I mean, my goodness, man. That win. I don't remember if we had odds on that fight, but I think we did. I don't remember. Maybe they'll show up if I look here really quickly. But Zillion was obviously the underdog. Okay, yeah, she was a plus 335, so made people some pretty good money. No doubt about that. Let's see. Oliveira improved significantly, so he doesn't deserve shade at all, says Ghost. He's the perfect champ in my book since he doesn't have that undefeated record. Because he doesn't have it. All right. That's an interesting kind of thought there, Ghost. But yeah, Oliveira, absolutely amazing. I love that guy so much. You cannot love him as a fighter, as a person. Just such a great, fun guy. James says you only watched Lionheart. Well, there you go. That was well worth it. Jilly Bean versus Izawa would be awesome, but make us sad, says Intro. Yeah, I know that's one of the bittersweet matchups, right? So a bittersweet matchup for those of you who might not understand the term. It's one of those where, man, that would be such a great fight, but we don't want either one to lose. That would definitely be that case. And I think I was talking to Ghost about it actually in the DMs right after the fight. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly. We were talking about that, and Delboni as champ was not willing to go over to Ryzen to potentially like make that kind of fight happen. She said it would have to be an Invicta, which Saka's down for. She'll fight fucking anybody on the planet. She's crazy like that, or just a champion like that. Not to say Delboni wasn't, but we also asked Jillian when she was last on here too if she would be down for it, and she almost did go to Ryzen to fight to Aishimizu, a couple of years ago. So she's been closer to it than Delboni was, and she would definitely be down for this, I imagine. So we'll see how the tournament shakes out with the Izawa and Siwoo Park rematch, which is going to be awesome. End of the year, and Jillian's still champ by then. Afterwards, that would be an awesome next step. And Reina's still floating out there. We'll see what happens with her after things wrap up. But there's some very fun options at atomweight, man. It's right up there with strawweight these days. It's the most like fun division. Like it's so good right now. Cinder says I would have to root for Jillian since she would be the underdog and a real friend of the podcast. Very true. Yes, she would certainly be the underdog again, I would imagine. Yeah, I would certainly feel comfortable about that. It would be a very fun matchup. And she is definitely one of the realest friends of the podcast. That is for sure. She's been on. If you've been on, then you're about as real as it gets. And we are scrolling along here. Where are we? I got lost. Krombopolis, what is up, man? Good to see you. The one card was great. Didn't like the UFC main event or everything before. All right, so a lot of people were sour on UFC. I'm very curious to get into that main event once we get there. So hold off, you guys. We got plenty of other action to get into. Ghost says, I don't care about undefeated records. I like to see fighters grow through their careers. Fair. I mean, yeah, those are the best stories, right? Like, I think Khabib Great story of being as undefeated for as long as he was, as was Fedor. Like, let's not kid ourselves, Ghost. That was amazing as well, and will never be done again. But yeah, something like Charles, all the ups and downs, especially early on, and then to just completely elevate himself. I totally understand what you're saying. Like, and Robbie Lawler did that a little bit too. You know, once he kind of ascended to champion status, not to the same degrees as Oliveira. I think that's very clear and obvious to say. But yeah, it's always kind of mind blowing to see fighters kind of do that kind of thing and truly reinvent themselves along the way. As Jimmy says, I think Zillion was the underdog. You think her strategy from Ghost Breakdown was evident against Delboni? I mean, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe she seemed to understand a lot of the things that we were talking about at that time. Makoto says, I'm excited to see Delboni fight again. Just amazing to finish the champ the way she did. Yes, I know it'll be. She's gonna come back only stronger, I would imagine. Scrumbopolis says he saw Zillion. Yep, of course. Rue says, why would Zillion be the underdog versus Izawa? I mean, Sayaka, well, age is clearly a big one there. She's number one in the world, has beat better competition recently. I mean, just the Ayaka wins alone kind of trump at least the Van Zandt victory for excuse me. Oh, okay. Makoto says meant Decorse. It's okay, not Delboni. I'm curious to see both of them next, but why would she be the underdog though? Yeah, be just the recent results and what they've done recently, I think. And again, also if it was in Ryzen, then automatically kind of got to favor that rule set a little bit for Sayaka as well. I mean, she's insane, man. Jin says Zillion is number one in the world right now. As much as we love her, that's just not the case. That's just not the case. I know I've seen some very odd rankings out there that don't make sense that are saying that, but that's just no. Unless you're gonna make the thing about 108 to 105. I saw one that had Park on there though, and she's not fighting there either, so it doesn't make sense. It's practically the same thing. It's 2 pounds, so yeah. Oh, that was awful. You don't look at any Tapology rankings in any division, Jin. They are terrible. I mean, if you're gonna mention those specifically, Kana Asakura was what, number 2 on that list or something? Like number 2 or 3, which right now that is completely absurd. So Tapology rankings are like completely just fan bias voting. I don't think the website at all does any of those, but it's just out of like fandom. They're some of the worst because they just don't make any sense whatsoever. I'm kind of curious to even pull them up now. I am on Tapology, so you know what? I'm gonna do it. Obviously on Tapology. Let me see, because yeah, just to highlight the ridiculousness of that. Kana Sakura, which she's lost 2 in a row now, and especially that last one was a beatdown from Park. Yeah, for Park to not be ahead of her. Let's see, where are we? I'm trying to scroll through here quickly. Oh, they don't organize this very well either. Worldwide. Oh, here we go. I think women's atomweight. Yeah. Kata is number 2, ahead of Hamasaki. So like it goes Zillion, Kana, Ayaka, Hamasaki, Siwoo Park, and Siwoo Park just beat Ayaka. Like they make no fucking sense whatsoever. These are some of the worst rankings out there. Mina Kurobe is at number 5, and Mina's top 15, I think, still, but that's absurd too. Seka's at 9. Like, what is that? Like this, that just shows you how absolutely silly they are. They're terrible. They are completely terrible. Hisei Watanabe is ranked. She's 13. And you know, she's a legend, of course, but has not since she's come back, hasn't been not been the same. So she's like 40 now. Come on. So it's terrible. Jimmy says, can Izawa strike with DeCoursey? DeCoursey shut down a lot of what Delboni was doing. Zeka would not try to strike with her at all, Jimmy. It wouldn't even be a thing. So Jin says, see what I mean? Or that you're highlighting how terrible they are? If that's the case, then yeah, I'm fully with you there. They're not good. It's a complete joke. But anyway, yeah, we're at the 30 mark here, so my goodness, we got to make some time up here. We'll get through move to 161, recapping just one fight that we had at the 115-pound atomweight division. This was I think a bit of an upset, a bit of a shocker. At least I thought so. It's Tiffany Teo, excuse me, ended up defeating Ritu Phogat in the first round with a rear naked choke at, what is the number here? 4:52, so 8 seconds. We have two kind of late round submissions in these fights that we're talking about. Teo dropping down to 115 from 125. Two finishes. She submitted Mung Bo and now submitted Ritu. Methodically kind of working her way to the back there, and told you this fight was going to go to the ground, but my goodness, Tiffany Teo sinking it in like a snake in this one. Not too much work on the feet, at least from what I remember. Big win for her, especially kicking things off here, and she wants to establish herself in the division, and she wants Angela Lee next, which shouldn't happen, but yeah. So a good win for her. I don't have too much to say about it. Good finish, exactly what you'd want. And poor Ritu's got to figure some things out now as she is on a losing streak. As Jimmy says, Teo probably should have tried that on Panda instead of getting into a striking war with the Panda. Yeah, 100%. That was terrible. She's improved the fight IQ maybe a little bit since then. Yeah. In both of the Panda fights, she did not quite approach them properly, and seems that she's learned to an extent. So we'll see where Tiffany Teo goes from here, but a good addition to the division, no doubt. So that is 161. They can't wait till they get out of the 100 numbers, so that it's not weird saying that now. But all right, let's get into the real fun stuff. One on Prime Video, two recapping Zhang Jingnan, the Panda, defends and defeats Angela Lee via unanimous decision. The main event, the trilogy, the best fight of the weekend as far as I'm concerned. Another classic, another instant classic. These two are just so made for each other. 3 all-time great fights. Fantastic stuff. I absolutely loved this fight. I want to see them fight as many times as we possibly can, honestly, and we'll get into why that might still be a thing. But the story was kind of the same here for the most part. We know the Panda has the striking advantage. Angela has the grappling advantage. Panda's grappling defense has improved significantly. She got caught in almost maybe a Darce or an Anaconda attempt there in the second round. It was pretty tight, but Lee couldn't quite snatch it on. Defended well, and just Zhang prevented Lee from getting her down in some of those clinch exchanges against the cage a whole lot, very nicely throughout the fight. I mean, I'm curious to see what the actual amount of takedowns she hit was, because it wasn't as many as in the first two fights, and just Lee didn't try to take it down as frequently as she did in the other two, and perhaps got a little bit too comfortable on her feet at times. Still was able to get in and land a lot, but Panda's counters were on point. She would land with that left hand, like in the picture, pretty much at will. Was mixing in some good inside low kicks early on. I mean, nearly put Lee away in the first round twice. My goodness, the big shots landed. But these are both champs for a reason. And ends up going the full 5, though. And I think it just comes down to Zhang was landing the better shots for sure. I don't know what the exact stats were on like the volume and everything, but it was pretty clear. I think she was getting the better of most of the exchanges. Obviously, Angela had some of her best success in the grappling, like with that potential choke that was mentioned in the second round. Nothing too crazy or scary there for Panda, but a great performance by her. And this was a close fight, but I've watched it twice now. And I got to say, the thing that pisses me off the most, and I might rant here a little bit, I'm just so insanely frustrated, especially after a fight like this. These two have put on 3 of the best fights between women in MMA history. If I had to rank them, I'd probably say it goes 1, 2, 3 in order of what we've seen. This is a fight of the year contender, in my opinion, especially among the women. Phenomenal. Champ versus champ. They just keep defending against each other in their weight classes. Great of a story he's going to have. Great competitive rivalry. But then, afterward, immediately, this narrative gets created pretty much by, I don't think Angela did it as much as Chatri did it, but saying he disagrees with the decision and I've seen some robbery claims from people, and it just completely takes away from how good the fight was. And just, I don't know. It just drives me insane how you don't get the outcome you want, maybe. Just completely disrespect one of your champions. One of your, your most winningest defending champion in promotional history, aside from maybe Bibiano Fernandez, at least among current champions. Always been a team player, Zhang Jingnan. And she's kind of fed up with it, as we saw afterwards. She was very heated about that, kind of taking the shine away from her, saying that she shouldn't have won the fight when it was a close competitive fight. But if you look at how one's fights are scored as a whole, and just how this played out, like they score. And here's a good example. We go back to Itsuki versus Lin Haichin, right? We remember that fight. Lin winning about 14 minutes and 30 seconds that fight. 40 seconds actually, gets dropped at the very end. It was close enough, but Lin had the edge. She gets dropped and nearly finished at the very end of the fight. Itsuki wins because in one's literal written rules, scoring and all that, near finish is the highest scoring criteria. Panda undeniably was closest there. And it's not even a debate. And yes, it was in the first round, but then you look at everything that happened afterwards, she was still getting the better of most of the exchanges. Like, it was still close, it was still competitive, but both times I watched it, and we judge it that way, she wins. And even if you go round by round, she probably still wins. Like, I just don't understand why. And I guess it works to potentially get that fourth fight out of it, but that still works without it. Because now you take away all the nonsense talk around it. Panda can have her shot to go back down again and try and become double champ herself. Which still doesn't make like a lot of sense in terms of a normal situation, but she has no one else to fight in her division. Lee got this chance. Why not give it to her again? She just lost. You can make that work. Like until somebody has 2 titles and the edge in the series, I don't think they're going to be able to kind of stop doing this. But honestly, with the amount of disrespect that has continually come Zhang Jingnan's way, like the promotion for her was there, like the hype and stuff, but it's always centered around Angela Lee usually, which you get it. Makes sense. She's the English speaker. Been one of the faces of the promotion for ever since she got in it. But like, come on, man. Come on. Especially when I don't know. I'm definitely ranting a little bit, but just frustrates you. I think it would be great to see her get out of there, go somewhere that'll respect her and appreciate her. Join UFC or Bellator. Would be great to have her at either the flyweight division, 125, which is what this fight was at, 125 pounds, or she can even drop down because she's done that to fight Angela Lee. So she could do that in the UFC if she wanted. Either one, she makes a good addition to. Probably has a better chance. I don't know. I don't know if she would be champion, obviously, just yet in either of those, but she would definitely hang around the best. She's one of the best 125ers in the world. I have her in my top 5 for sure. And she's only getting better defensively, especially when it comes to grappling. So amazing fight. Like, I hate that I even had to say any of that because it takes away from another classic. Like Don't do that. Just don't do that. Like, man, this was nowhere. There's no controversy whatsoever. You could have close fights, but don't make it out to be bigger than it is, because that's just completely takes away from everything. Don't do that. Okay. James, my guy, trying to moderate a little bit. Appreciate it. Says that Go says Panda did a good job circling out, very much so. Lee does just enter in a line. She didn't change her entries. Yeah, she came completely forward pretty much the whole time. Panda was backed up for probably about 80% of this fight, working off the back foot, and did a tremendous job there. Like I said, countering. So Jimmy says he rewatched the Phantom Punch, and Lee did exactly what Ghost said or did in the breakdown. Ghost says, I noticed that Lee was trying to defend the body shots with her low elbow check, but gave the Panda the overhand. Yeah, look at that. Very true. Yeah, she was much more aware of the body shots coming in potentially, which was good to see. And I think we said this on the stream last week as well, or during the, I was there for the SCMP watch along. And Angela's striking is improving. Like, she is much more a grappler. But again, it's like one of those things where you're not going to catch up in time to kind of compete to the same level, perhaps, as Jingnan is at. And I mean, of course, you're going to try to do that and all, but she should have mixed in. I'm surprised she didn't mix in her grappling as much as she normally does and whatnot. But Panda made it hard for her, like Ghost was mentioning there. As Makota says, what do you think of Chatru disparaging the decision? Pretty similar to Valentina and Connor disparaging Whaley versus Joanna decision. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good comparison. Yeah, I just ranted about it, Makoto, so I'm catching up here. Ghost says, I don't know who won, but it looked to me like Panda was scoring a lot and probably did. Yes. So here, this is what I want to do. I wanted to pull up. Let me see if I can find it. But they have they shared the scorecard and how it is judged in one, which is very interesting. I shared with you guys how Ryzen does their scoring. A while back, right? But oh, here we are. Look at Nick, our boy. Shout out to Nick Atkin. He's got it here. It's very interesting to look at how they score it. It's kind of I don't necessarily hate how it is done this way. It's very interesting though, and obviously different. Here, let me zoom in properly to show you guys, because I think this is important to look at and just kind of, especially helps educate people to know why things are going the way that they do in a lot of these fights, especially in one championship, obviously, because this is how they do it. So here we are. If you can see, here, let me full screen it for you guys just to further enhance this and take Ghost off. Sorry there. But what do we got here? He says he doesn't know who won, but it looked to me like Panda was scoring a lot. So yes, as you can see, the judges here, or this is one of the scorecards, actually, but we'll just use it as an example. So this judge here, Jeremy something, near KO / submission, advantage goes to the red corner. So red corner is Panda, obviously, and the degree of advantage, moderate, over the course of a full 5-round fight, right? So you would say dominant if it was just the first round for sure, but overall the whole thing, I think that's fine just to say moderate, but definitely for her. Damage goes to red, moderate. Yep, that's fine. Striking, pretty clear, moderate again, but not quite dominant, like completely outclassing. Ground goes to Angela. And you see this is in order, right? So we're going in terms of most important. So she's already got 3 total before Angela gets 1, which is slight on the ground, which I think is fair. We didn't see too much of it, but definitely you give the edge. Takedowns, he gives to Jingnan, actually. So slight there, which don't know if I agree with that one. And then aggression, he says, is even, which is interesting. I think you could maybe lean towards Angela in that one just because she was being very aggressive coming forward for pretty much the whole fight, like I said. So I would probably say that's slight favor of Angela too. But then that's still like, those first 3 are really all you need. And they're all moderate at the very least. So it's very kind of strange, right, to look at it this way. But in terms of most important, as long as she has those 3, it doesn't really matter. And I guess these are 3.1 and 3.2. But she very easily had the top two. Number one for sure. So that's just how it goes. And Angela said she wants to go to round by round scoring now. So she's I don't know if she's making herself look too great in that regard too. And I know she thought that she won the Nicolini fight as well. So it just kind of makes it a bummer that there wasn't a finish in this fight, so we don't even have to worry about this. But hopefully it helps educate people, right? That's the goal here. Hopefully people will be educated now. As Jimmy says, I bet that's why Ghost is happy because of what Chatri did. I don't get that part. Krabopoulos says, Dan Tom and Ghost was right. Just keep spamming the body shot. All right. James says, why were the SMP boys so biased towards Lee? I remember JHK asking Ghost, how can Lee win? Biased towards her. Why would they ask how she can win if they're... Oh, you're confusing me with that one, James. As Ghost says, the way Lee could have won would be fake her entries because every time she did step in, she did step in. Okay. But yeah, either way, I mean, can we just appreciate a great fight? Best fight of the week. Again, as I said, one of the best of the year, in my opinion. Maybe not the best, but it is definitely up there. Enjoyed it a lot. Excited. I'm curious to see what is next because, again, I want to know how many fights are left on Panda's contract because she cannot keep disrespecting her this way. Kind of insane. As James says, they wanted Lee to win during the fight companion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know specific reasons why they did want that. Maybe just for, I don't know, some freshness to that division, maybe. I don't know. I can't speak for them. But yeah, so also, shit, I forgot to pull up, here, let me pull up a screen grab for the other fights that went down, which we're about to get into. Real quick here. I know there's so much to talk about. I'm gonna have to speed it up here as we go on. A little bit stuffed up today in the nostril region. Let's see. All right, so yeah, in the other fight, Stamp Fairtex defeated Jihin Radzuan via unanimous decision. Pretty fun one here. Stamp gets it done. And my goodness, what an absolutely beautiful, disgusting, filthy elbow timed on Jihin coming in that third round, plants her, knocks her down, and Stamp rides out the round on top and, closes out very strongly. My goodness, that was some crazy stuff. Well, what Jihin, I think, reversed her at the very end there, but she started off good and then faded. Jihin was looking good, mixing it up, and then her takedowns just got a little bit too sloppily predictable, and Stamp was able to defend. And I will say, it's just been super impressive to see Stamp's her grappling abilities continue to improve from being a Muay Thai specialist. She's getting pretty nasty everywhere, man. She is very talented. Still just 24. That elbow was disgusting. So yeah, a great win for her. Sucks for Jihin. She's very likable, fun fighter too, but yeah, has some good things to take away from this one. Has to set up those takedowns better than she started to do as the fight went on. Just kind of lost touch a little bit. Started off strong, like I said, but my God, she got just planted. Just planted. And Citro says, did we expect anything else? One love Stamp and gives her layups. Well, I disagree with this one being a layup. It definitely wasn't a layup on paper, and I don't think it turned out that way. Like, yes, again, as the fight went on, Stamp took over pretty comfortably, but Jihin started off decently, good enough. And if you were to score round by round, I think she won the first one, but we don't do that here. So either way, a great performance, and I just realized that was full screen again, so I'm going to adjust that on the next one here. But as we cruise along, almost to the UFC now, this is, yeah, there's just so much to dive into, you guys. We did have the Bellator 286 fight, which, again, didn't necessarily need to happen, but I guess in the end, it was all right that it did. As Samiko Inaba once again defeats Nadine Mandiao, this time via unanimous decision, 29-28 and 2 30-27s. Let me adjust this here. How do I? There we are. Yeah, I mean, Sumiko was pretty much a step ahead the entire time, unsurprisingly. Knew that she was going to be better everywhere. And like I said last week, however she wants to win, she can. Mandiao is a huge flyweight, though. I will say that much. And Sumiko did put herself in some bad positions on the ground. What got caught in a little bit of a triangle there at the end of the second round. Nothing too bothersome or not too much time stuck in it, but just a little bit reckless in some positions, which she will definitely learn from that. But this was a one-way traffic for the most part, just landing the better shots and taking down Mandiao essentially when she wanted to. Had to fend off some herself as well, but she was predominantly in control. And I know that one judge did give a round to her, but I don't know about that. So not surprising. Not too surprising there. I mean, that's exactly what we expected was Inaba to win by finish at least. But hey, I mean, good for her to get that experience, the longest first time going to decisions. So at least as a pro. So that never hurts to kind of get that in. But anyway, that was Bellator 286, which, I mean, there were some crazy fights on that card, you guys. Let's not kid ourselves. AJ McKee and Spike Carlisle. My goodness. AJ was not messing around in that one. But anyway, let's get to UFC Vegas 61 now. We have made it, breached through there. And we will kick things off with your main event as Yan Xiaonan gets back in the win column, defeated Mackenzie Dern via majority decision, 48-47 twice, and then a 47-47. So, you guys know. You guys know me. Yan Xiaonan's one of my favorites. Love her. She mixed it up well in this fight. And Ghost, I think you should be pretty happy with this. I saw you tweet and you were liking her deep kicks. There were some good kicks that she was doing, the side kicks that she usually does. Because there's no worry with Mackenzie. She showed us once again that she did not adapt anything from the Marina Rodriguez loss. She doesn't catch kicks whatsoever. Yan was just fine putting them out there. Didn't see all these 1-2s and whatnot, as Ghost has pointed out. She was landed some very nice counter shots. And, overall, it was very good. And again, it's very similar to the Marina win in that case that surviving on the ground against Mackenzie Dern is a win and very impressive in its own right. She was in some danger in some certain positions for sure, was Xiaonan. But this shuts up a lot of people who were saying that, she has no ground game whatsoever because of the Carla fight. Sure, maybe it's not still her best area, right? But she's clearly improved and able to survive on the ground with Mackenzie Dern is always a win. Of course, the takedown parts, that's not good to, have that happen to you from Mackenzie necessarily. But to be able to not get submitted by her is huge. So it's kind of similar in that regard. And it was very similar to the Marina fight in terms of, we knew that these better strikers were going to outstrike Dern essentially at will. And they would just have to, if they don't get caught in a submission, they're going to win, most likely. But I will say, I said that, I prefaced that by saying, you guys know I love Yan Xiaonan. But I did score this one as a draw, actually. I did think that she didn't win this one. I don't think either of them won. I thought this was a draw if you look at the stats here. So it was pretty clear. I think it was very clear. Round one, you can see 38-19 in the strikes there, if we're going to go by the numbers. Round one, very clearly, Xiaonan. Round two, very clearly, Mackenzie Dern. She gets it to the ground, threatens with some submissions, outstrikes her, all that. Round three, very clearly, Xiaonan again, closer in the gaps here, and there was a takedown and whatnot, but still she had the edge, more effectiveness, more impact on her strikes and whatnot. Round four, very clearly Xiaonan once again, defense. How many takedowns did Mackenzie go for? 11? Jeez, seems like it's adding up here. And then round five was, I don't know how the hell. How do you not really give that a 10-8 to Mackenzie Dern when she gets it down right away, essentially? Lands 97 strikes on the ground, controlling entirely. Yeah, Xiaonan flipped it at the very end as you see her 13 seconds on top. But how does that negate it to a 10-9 at the very end? I don't know. I don't know. I think a draw is like kind of the perfect way to score that, honestly. But I'm not gonna complain about her winning as a very shameless fan. It was a good performance from her. She's obviously learning and improving defensively more than anything, but she mixed up things well on the feet as she should have. And I mean, Mackenzie again, somebody who's gonna come right at you. It wasn't a complete rehash of the Rodriguez fight, but you can't help but draw these comparisons. And it's kind of funny now that they've all fought each other and they've both beat Dern in main events, no less, and then had a very competitive fight themselves, which people have gone back and forth on who they believe won between Marina and Yan Xiaonan. But yeah, so this was a great fight. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I was on edge of my seat, biting the fingernails a bit when it did go to the ground, just like with the Marina fight. I mean, any fight with Dern, that's going to make you feel that way. Like, oh, it's just a matter of time. But yeah, she managed to survive. So big stuff there. Very, very good for the confidence, no doubt about it. And going forward now, I think the Rose fight would be pretty cool, pretty logical. You do that one, or Andrage seems like the only ones you could probably go with, right? I'm still fine with Andrade versus Dern. That would have been the one that I would have made after things were shaken out. I remember telling you guys that. But yeah, I mean, it's different now. I don't know. You could still do it. You could do Dern and Andrade and then Jan and Rose, maybe. But Dern might get somebody lower regardless. We'll kind of see there how that plays out. Maybe I don't know. It's very interesting how things can kind of play out in terms of the next fights. But I think Jan versus Rose is probably the right call now at this stage. After that one, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Rose. She's taking her breaks as she likes to do. Kind of annoying. Can be a little bit annoying, especially for the other fighters and making matchups. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah. As Go says, my question, I watched all of Jan's fights, said that she only does the sidekick and the jab 1-2, and that's all she has on the feet. If I'm missing something, please tell me what I'm missing. She did just counter with the 1-2s. Look, I watched all her fights, looked for her tendencies, but I was happy she added that front kick to the body. So there you go. I think I'm missing the question part. If he's missing something, if you're missing something about her game, I mean, I don't know. I have to rewatch, I guess, but I felt like she definitely mixed it up better in that fight and didn't fight typically the way she does because she wasn't fighting because of who she was fighting, But yeah. Zhao says Jan did say something on the MMA Hour that was mistranslated. I'm not going to tell you because it's funny. I think Jumbo pointed this out for us earlier, Zhao, about Rose being the best fighter. Is that what it is? James says I was happy with the result because neither will be in title talks. I mean, not too soon. No, they'll need Zhao needs, if she beats Rose next, like we're saying that should probably happen, then she is for sure. But like for their next fight, obviously not. Would Dern be unstoppable if she only knew the single leg takedown? Ghost thoughts on how you would coach her. Would she be unstoppable? I mean, again, is anybody ever really unstoppable? Hard to say. Probably not. But she'd be a whole lot better, a whole lot more difficult to deal with. That is undeniable. Rue says, I said this last year about Dern, but she won't improve. She has not added anything to her striking or wrestling since last year. I mean, hey, it's yeah, you haven't been wrong. She definitely needs to do something. And says that she got kicked out of the fight lab. I don't remember the exact situation there, but yeah, she's obviously not with the lab anymore. Citra says both wrestling were not good. Dern held on to a single leg and drained her own energy. Okay. Jamie says, I have seen this narrative. Andrade would steamroll Jan, but Jan would have a war with Whaley. That literally makes no sense. No, styles make fights. Styles make fights, Jimmy. That's totally a reasonable assumption. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Andrage would steamroll Jan, but I think it'd be more likely. As Ghost says, no, Dern does have 2 takedowns that she likes. Wrestling isn't just having one takedown, right? Wrestling is finding an entry, chaining other takedowns. All right, there you go. Yeah, for sure. But sorry about that. So yeah, I enjoyed that one thoroughly as well. And again, I'm not going to complain about the result, even though I don't technically agree with it. And again, no one gets a win bonus if there is a draw, so that kind of sucks. But Ghost says what I would trade Dern to do would be like Ryan Hall. Interesting. I mean, she does drop to her back every now and then, but she doesn't quite attack the legs the same way. And works to an extent for Ryan Hall. He's gotten figured out a tiny bit in his recent fights last time we saw him, but interesting approach. And I know you're kind of along that thought of making your skill significantly better, right, Ghost, instead of maybe adding in things that you won't catch up on. As he says, throw side kicks and front kicks like a karate guy because you have to get out of jail card. Okay. Oh, about Hall, maybe. Wrestling takes too long to train. Yeah, it's one of those things that if you don't grow up doing it, like these freaks like Bo Nickel and whatnot, it'll be tough to catch up to those guys. So, yeah. But that was our UFC Vegas 61 main event. We did have another fight that opened up the night. Chelsea Chandler at 140-pound catchweight bout defeated Yulia Stoliarenko via first-round TKO with punches, grounded pound. Pretty vicious, violent stuff here from Chick Diaz, which I guess that's also Leslie Smith's nickname. But if we're going to look at who's much more 209, Diaz brother-like, it would probably be Chelsea Chandler. And yeah, this fight did not at all go I expect. And we didn't preview this last week because I actually didn't even realize. I don't know how I missed it. I looked at the lineup and everything, but I guess it just completely slipped my eye. So we didn't even preview this one. And I know it was a changeup. It was supposed to be Chandler versus Letson, right? But Stoliarenko, she threatened with that armbar early, as she likes to do, after a pretty good takedown. But then Chandler just kind of really outsized her, outmuscled her, landed some good shots on the feet, started beating her up, and then clearly got into a great position on the ground. Thumpity it away. And yeah, this was the best performance of Chelsea Chandler's career. I would think it's fair to say. I mean, she had a really good one in Invicta that stands out. I think she fought Liv Parker and completely dominated her, which, that is what it is. And her last fight, though, she did not look too impressive. And so this was a real big turnaround for her performance-wise. Short notice, yes, and kind of weird catchweight situation, but she makes for a pretty solid addition to bantamweight, which is hopefully, what she's going to end up doing. She says it'll be a tough cut, and we've only seen her like at featherweight. This was the lowest she's been. But hey, the more bodies at bantamweight, the better. I'm sure we're going to see her bounce around, though, which is annoying and not great for the body. But yeah, a great UFC debut for Chelsea Chandler. Doesn't get much better than that, if we're going to be totally honest. As Go says, because if Dern kicks do get caught, she could transition to a submission like she likes to do. That's a great point. Very, yeah, that would be pretty smart of her, indeed. It's kind of like, not Oliveira. I mean, I was going to mention Oliveira just because of when he gets hurt, he can just fall down like in the Gaethje fight and be okay, like, or Fabricio Verdum or any of these guys, but they've never really done that. Can we think of a fighter, you guys? Is there someone, Ghost, do you have someone in mind who, no one's coming to mind, who's just a phenomenal jiu-jitsu person who kicked that much and would use that as like a tactic a little bit? And I just feel like I don't know if we'd see those fighters even want to catch the kicks, because then they'd put themselves in that danger. Jimmy says Ghost dropping the knowledge bombs. But Jimmy also says, hold on here. So you're telling me that Weili Hu is technical and has power and knows how to catch side kicks and take them down from it would be a hard fight for Jan. Yeah, she would be a hard fight for Jan. Yeah, of course. Is you're telling me that Jan would be a war? Yeah, I mean, it has the potential to be for sure. Yeah. Like, sure, would that stuff happen? But it doesn't mean it would it would stay there for a long period of time, like, clearly. And then, but Andrade would steamroll Jan. If she just smothered her and kind of pinned her up against the corner and unloaded the way she does, I'm sure that's what people are thinking. And wherever you're hearing these comments, Jimmy, of the steamrolling nature or throwing her around potentially, but she'd also have to get a hold of her. I don't know. I mean, the more I think about it here on the spot, I don't know if it would necessarily be a steamrolling in that case. I think, but again, like stylistically and from what we've seen from, both of them, it would probably be more likely. Not to say that they both couldn't do it or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, they're all tough fights, however you mix and match them. So that's just where we're at. It's strawweights. It's exciting. It's really fun to be able to have these possibilities. And yeah, maybe we'll see Jan versus Andrade next. I think that's certainly got to be up there. I mean, we'll see what's going on with Andrade. I don't know. After missing out on the flyweight opportunity there the last time out. But all right, so there we go. We finished all the recaps here right at the hour and 6-minute mark, which is pretty solid because we just have a bit of news and then maybe a little something special there for you at the end. And Gosei and Armin throws a bunch of kicks and transitions them to grappling exchanges. Dern could use that strat. That's a good point. Yes, Sarukian you're talking about here. Yeah. James says, I think 115 is more like 185. Whaley and Rose are the top while everyone else is far behind. I mean, I don't know. How can you clump Rose into that mix though when we just saw how the last fight went? Like, I know again it wasn't much of a fight, but when that happens, I don't know if it's fair to like put her there. You know what I mean? And say that they're so much better. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. And even the Andrade versus Rose rematch, James, like that was competitive still. Yes, Rose, I think pretty clearly won, but she was struggling there as it went on in that third round. She was getting jacked up pretty good. She looked more messed up than Andrade did probably. And then she lost to her in the first fight. So like, I don't know. I don't think that's fair to say. And yeah, that was a little bit ago, and she beat Whaley since then. But I don't think they're far ahead of everybody by a wide bit. James says Rose is the only one that's competitive with Whaley. I mean, she has been recently, right? But Joanna was in the first fight. Second fight, obviously not so much. But those are the only people she's fought in her last 4 fights. So, and then, yeah, we will see. Anyway, let's get to the news cycle now, as we do have some news to talk about. 4 bits here for you. As I adjust my tabs and things are really zoomed in for some reason. All right, we are going to Japan for this one. The atomweight division for the first 2 here. Super atomweight division. Satomi Sarami Takano is coming back to Rizin, and she's going to take on Laura Fontoura at Rizin Landmark 4 on November 5th in Nagoya. Oops, I just shared this screen. That's hilarious. How did that happen? How can I, why is that even an option? That is really funny. You can share the StreamYard screen. That was really weird. That's funny. Anyway, here it is. Here's the fight announcement graphic, which is really fun. How they have the cage. Wait, I mean, I don't know. Is this? I don't know if this is actually going to be in the cage. Maybe it is. It's a landmark rather than trigger. So I'm a little bit confused now. I don't know if this is in a cage or not. They're making it look like it. If it's in a cage, that's very interesting. That's very fun. But either way, Fontoura obviously had an unsuccessful debut against Sayaka Izawa in her last time out a couple months ago. Got caught in that guillotine after locking on a scary triangle on Izawa. And then Sarame came up short against Kana Asakura her last time out. And now that I think about it, talking about Kana earlier, she did have that win in between the losses against Sarame. Put up a good fight, but just wasn't quite was a little bit of a step behind Kana in that one, but Sarame still a top 15 atom weight. So this is a big opportunity for Fontoura to kind of launch herself right on up in there still after no shame in the loss against the champ. You know, she was literally thrown to the wolves, deep end of the pool right away as part of the tournament opening round. Excuse me. Oh, I just get hit with these waves of energy loss. But yeah, I like this fight. No problem with it. Didn't expect to see it, but I'm down. I'm down. It should be a fun one. Both fun fighters to watch. And on the landmark event, which is coming along nicely. And then we move over to the Deep Jewels side of things, as Deep Jewels 39 goes down on November 23rd. So we're getting a little early here. Got some matchups announced. I'm not sure if it's the whole card, but it sure is a lot. As a shout out to our friend at Sugi209, the Hirofumi Sugi photographer, Lady Go, on Twitter. Always providing the goods when it comes to Deep Jewels and most of the Japanese women's scene in general. But we have here Yoko Higashi, the featherweight champ, taking on Diamond Rocket. Miki Motono is back, taking on Morisuda. So that's very interesting. Morisuda going up to, I imagine this is strawweight. What is 49 kilos? Let me do my conversion real quick here. 49 kilograms. That's, no, okay, Miki's dropping to atom weight, super atom weight. That's very fascinating. So I'm just seeing this right now at this exact moment, that this is a atom weight fight for Miki Motono, who you'll remember has fought Seika for the strawweight title. And, you know, just won a big fight her last time out. I'm not remembering who it was against, but yeah, this should be a very fun one. Miki has some great wrestling of her own, and obviously Morisuda just staying as active as she could possibly be. How crazy. The 18-year-old who's racking up all these great wins, just had the good one against Aya Murakami her last time out. She's just on fire right now. She's rolling. She's completely taken Eru Takabayashi's spotlight as the young wonder child of MMA right now. Morisuda is a serious prodigy. So if she can pull it off here against Miki, that would be very impressive. But Motono is still no joke, that's for sure. As we also got Mikiko Shimizu taking on Nore Pravajra, sister of Karen, right? Aoi Kuriyama, Shoko Fujita. And then, well, we don't have any more pictures, I don't think, here. But Mika Nagano is still going at it. What I think she said she's going to fight till she loses. She's taking on Arisa Matsuda. Arame taking on Mashi Fukuda. Marina Kumagai versus Shiko Hosoya. Yarina Horiguchi versus Sayaka Hisunuma. And Mana Akagai versus Hitomi Tanayama. So what? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's probably the full card, yeah. So definitely most anticipating this one, Suda versus Motono. That's intriguing stuff. Featherweight title fight should be something. Should be something. But yeah, Motono versus Suda is very, very intriguing. And I mean, for either direction, if because I think that's Motono's debut at the weight. So if she can make a splash there with a win over, you know, a surging Suda, get her in Ryzen, that could be fun potential fights for her. My goodness, the atomweight division it is just so good right now. Like, it feel weird saying that it's on par with strawweight, but man, it is like right there now. I'll have to really I'd have to assess. There's so much goodness, especially after this tournament's unfolded and everything in Ryzen. It is just so strong. And DeCoursey, is just a testament too of how good it is for her to be able to come in and finish Delboni after what Delboni's been doing. That just shows you how good everybody is right now. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So, all right, now you guys, we're going to whip out the crystal ball because your man here predicted this one. Old Mystic Drake over here. Aspen Ladd has signed with the PFL and she will participate in the 2023 featherweight season. So how about that? The best possible case scenario for her ended up happening. I called it. And I feel like it wasn't a surprising thing, but a lot of people didn't seem to necessarily think about this after she missed weight and had the Sarah McMahon cancellation again. So, why this is great for her, as I talked about when I was saying that, one, she doesn't have to worry about killing herself anymore to make this weight that she can't make, which is 135. Two, easier competition to get bigger, easier competition with better pay. That's great. That's great. I don't think that it's going to be a walk in the park for her to win the season, but there you go. Those are the only two things. It's much better for her right there. That's all you need. And let's get this out of the way too. A fight with Kayla, that is not going to happen next year unless Lad doesn't make the playoffs. Why? Because people still don't seem to realize that Kayla this is her last season, right? She has the championship fight coming up next month. She will not be competing in the tournament formats anymore for PFL. She's going to be pay-per-view, one-off type things only. So for Lad to get that fight, she will need to lose, and then that's not even going to help the case of that happening. So we're probably not going to see Kayla versus Lad, which everyone's like, that's got to be the fight to happen. Kayla's already quote tweeted it already and whatnot. But we're not getting it next year, at least not till the end of next year. If Lad, or she could lose in the first round of the playoffs, I guess that would make sense too. But she's gonna have to lose first for the fight to happen. Which, all right, and I don't think that would go. If we're gonna go off what we've seen recently from her, still needs to change some things in terms of her fighting, the actual fighting part. Then, I wouldn't favor her or anything, but it'd be interesting stylistically. If she can channel, her old ways. But also to note here, the PFL is doing the featherweights. They're dropping, presumably, the lightweight division. At least they fucking should, especially without Kayla. Quit doing this 155 thing. Just have the featherweights in. Maybe the flyweights next year. That seems very likely with Dakota Ditcheva in the promotion now. Build it around her a bit. So there will be a featherweight season in the PFL next year for the women. Presumably no more lightweight, which is a made-up division in the first place, obviously. And I don't know how it's going to practically be the same thing here in PFL anyway, because obviously Bellator has most all of the the featherweights anyway. But we'll see. We'll see. It's again, this is great. This is great for Aspen. This is hugely beneficial for her. Like, she should have wanted this all along, but has been kind of maybe too stubborn to admit she couldn't make bantamweight. I don't know. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that whole thing. And all right, so we will get to the last bit of news here for the day. At strawweight, just announced this morning, Yasmin Yaraguay. I almost just showed my email because that's where I'm at today with my scrambledness. Yasmin Yaraguay will fight Estela Nunes at UFC Orlando on December 3rd. So one of the bright spots this year in terms of the prospects coming onto the scene and in the UFC, Yasmin Yaraguay. Very fun fighter, phenomenal talent at 115. Will take on Nunes in her second UFC appearance. I have no problem with it. Maybe not the fight that I would have thought or went with next, but she's still at that point where we don't need to rush it. We don't need to rush it whatsoever. She's still very young. She's still very talented. Depending on how she wins this one in terms of the impressiveness and all that, we'll see what they want to do afterward, but she has star potential in the making. That is no doubt. And especially with the surge of her fellow, Latin fighters, kind of Latin American fighters coming up. Brandon Reynolds, Irene Aldana, Grasso is competing next week in the main event. This is a market they're wanting to tap into, undeniably. Continue tapping into. They always have, right? But yeah, no problems with that fight. Should be fun. Yaraguay, highly enjoy watching her fight. Had one of the best fights of the year with Lucindo earlier. So yeah, I have no problems with it. She's at that point where you could really match her with anybody unless you get crazy and go like highly ranked. That'd be kind of messed up, but I think this is fine. At this stage, this is fine, and she will certainly be favored. But yeah, very, very excited to see Uruguay back. No doubt about it. She is all entertainment. All entertainment. So, all right, look at that. Some great time here. 10 minutes to spare beautifully, as I am going to catch up on your comments here in a moment. You know, I just like to get through the news nice all and at once. Where are we starting? Sorry, you guys. Okay, Centro says, have to ask this. Valentina and Joanna both beat Andrage. Yes, they did, but you said Weili versus Andrage would be a good fight. Yes, I do think so. This is why aren't you clamoring for Valentina and Joanna to rematch, even though Weili beat Andrade? For Valentina and Joanna to rematch her, even though Weili beat Andrade in 42 seconds. Against these are very different styles clashes, right? Like these are very different stylistic matchups. And I mean, geez, Joanna versus Andrade was so long ago. I think a rematch between those two would have looked different too. Like that's obviously not happening now. Valentina fight, that's probably not going to look any different. We don't need to see that again. So yeah. And I mean, again, we saw less of the Weili fight, Cincho. That's all you need. There was 42 seconds. I want to see more. I want to see it go on for longer. You know, I want to see an actual fight. Like that was barely a fight at all. So that's always the thing for me. Like that's why I hate Aldo versus McGregor so much, because we didn't get to see a fight. We did not get to see a fight. We saw a knockout, which impressive, of course, and amazing that Conor did that. But we didn't get to see a fight, man. I like to see fights. Same with Weili versus Rose 1. Sure, we got the rematch, so it doesn't matter, but we didn't get to see a fight, really. And Ghost says, my question is, what other techniques range do you see that Xiaonan do besides the sidekick and jab 1-2 in her last 8 fights? Well, Ghost, you're gonna make me have to go back and research everything, right? My memory is fading tremendously these days when it comes to MMA. I'm starting to notice, so I feel bad about doing this show sometimes because I feel like I'm doing a disservice to you guys, if I'm going to be completely honest. But, you know, I should have a sit down, and I like to do that with my favorite fighters sometimes, go back and just watch like a bunch of their catalogs. I used to do that a lot with Dominic Cruz and just watch his fights like over a night sometimes. So I might, you know what, I might take you up on that with Yan Xiaonan soon, maybe. But I also don't really like to do too much MMA studying if I don't have to these days. But I mean, in that case, I'd be fine with it because I enjoy her fights, obviously. Edgelord, what is up? Says, hey, you were at SCP Fight Companion? I definitely was. Yeah, I hopped on for the main event last week. Says, was my shit freezing right now? Nope. And Alvin's here. What a surprise. Yeah, Alvin is the man. He's always been here. He's he's our mod. So gotta love it. Cintra says, Horiguchi related to Kyoji? That is a good question. I don't think so, but I do not know. I honestly don't know. I could find out though for sure. That would be interesting though. As Jin says, you don't feel that most of the top 5 at strawweight have stagnated. They are who they are, but Weili has added new dimensions to each game. So Weili has clearly added the most dimensions. But these 5, like Marina and Xiaonan, for example, are clearly adding or improving defensively and whatnot with their grappling, for the biggest example. Whereas Weili's kind of added more offensive dimensions, right? So I think they're all improving in different ways. I think Rose honestly has not changed up too much lately. Clearly, Carla hasn't. Who else are we thinking? Dern hasn't either. So, I mean, I guess for the most part, you're probably right. But those 3 that I mentioned right there, Andrade, a little bit to an extent, at least in terms of her fight IQ and her game planning and approaches and whatnot. But the biggest examples, I think, are definitely Marina, Yan, and Weili out of those ones. But I guess you're actually probably pretty right for the most part. Serene says, not Mystic Drake, more like Destiny Diamond Dude Drake. Okay, I'll take that. Very funny. Rain says, Aspen Lad is the queen of missing weight badge. She's, yeah, I think that's probably fair to say at this point. Sammy says, I've asked around about Whaley versus Carla. Seems like most of my friends are not excited for it because of Carla. How big of a hit has Rose versus Carla 2 made on all women fighting? It hasn't. It hasn't, Sammy. I think that's a myth. That's a silly thing to say. But yeah, that's reasonable for, I'm sure your friends, I don't know if your friends are like really into MMA, but if they had only seen that fight, they'd be like, oh, she was in that one. That was not great. If that's the only fight they've seen of her, then of course they're going to think that she's not going to be exciting the next time. So that makes sense. But I don't think it affects everything. It says, because Whaley fight normally excites people. Well, yeah, because Whaley's fights are normally exciting. She's never had anything remotely close to, not many people have, to the last one, the Carla Rose rematch. So yeah, it's that's not fair. I don't think it's all a bit clustered. I've seen some people. I saw a comment the other day, this week, on Monday, on the Xiong story about her comments from the MMA Hour, and some random person, just a commenter, said that I'm sick of this like boring division. I was like, Jesus. So like, I guess some people might feel that way about strawweight now, but I'm like, no, dude, come on now. As Jimmy says, he disagrees. A lot of his buddies are excited to see Whaley fight again. There you go. Says what's great is Whaley already has a hype package for the UFC. All right. Go says if he fights other about Jan Jenon, please tell me and I will change my opinion. Of course. Again, I wanna be fresh on it, when I point it out as best as I can. Citra says I'm with Ghost here. Whaley steamrolled her. Yes, she did. Andrage just did what she always does against Whaley. Well, I'm not denying that. I don't think she'd get steamrolled again, though. I've said that before, for sure. Ghost says the Danielle Taylor versus Whaley fight was close to the Rose versus Carla 2. You think so? Wow, I don't know about that. Difference is Whaley had leads inside the low kick. I thought that fight was still enjoyable. I thought Whaley versus Taylor was an all right fight. I mean, especially for a Danielle Taylor fight, Whaley was able to make it interesting for sure. Or entertaining to it, I guess you could say. I don't know. I don't think it's on that level, but interesting. He says, and the sidekick. But all right, you guys, this is perfect timing to shit. I didn't even pull this up sooner. I wanted to. Sorry. Let me bust this out real quick. We have a special Phantom Punch breakdown to close out the show, you guys. So get your popcorn ready. Get it ready. I know you will be excited, and it is about a fighter that we already covered, of course. I'm sure you can guess. No surprises here. I think somebody already pointed this out. And Go says he can say this because Wade told me she didn't like that fight. Yes, I know she was not. I think when I spoke to her last, she also mentioned, she didn't like that one either, or knows that she definitely didn't perform her best. But all right, Cintro's got the popcorn ready, so let's get it going. It is, of course, a Zillion DeCoursey spectacular from the title victory. I mean, Ghost was so gosh darn excited. He was messaging me during it about it as we were freaking out together, really. It was just a good old time. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. This seems far. Well, okay, it's going the opposite direction. That's no fun. Why the hell is that happening? Oh, that is so... Do you see this? If I go backwards, it gets bigger. That's very strange. But okay, full screen layout. Still not as big as I would like that to be. That's what she said. All right, so let's get this rolling, you guys, as we have a copyright disclaimer, of course, because Ghost is a smart, wise man. Appreciate it. It says the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Got to get it out of the way. Much appreciated. It says this is fair use, UFC intern, which means you can't take this down, but we should say Invicta intern because this will be an Invicta footage. I actually haven't watched this yet, Ghost, so this will be my first reaction. I haven't had time to get around to it. I've been all over the place, which you can tell by the fact that we're on Wednesday here today. But so yeah, I'll be watching this for the first time with you guys. So that's fun. I usually watch them beforehand. So we'll see how naughty he gets if he does. The trailing leg is the leg that is last to leave range as the opponent retreats or circles left or right. DeCoursey throws a rear straight to force a reactive cover-up. Opponent retreats leg. This forces the opponent's weight to be transferred to the rear leg. Rear leg step up. Hits the trailing leg. Very nice stuff there. Kablamo. Like to add the sound effects if I can. A little bit of slow-mo. And whap. Whap, whap, whap. Kicking the trailing leg is rarely seen in MMA, but the fighters who use them do it well. Here's the next example. Oh, here we go. Here we go, Ghost. Back to the cage. Dominic Cruz and Henry Cejudo. I mean, this is a good example. I can't deny it. A great example, actually. I mean, Henry, yeah, he did that a couple times this one. Cejudo removes left side space. Only way to move is to the left for Cruz. Oh, I wish that this fight would have went longer. Trailing leg. Cejudo looks high. Actually, he looks so small in this still shot, doesn't he? But Cejudo kicks low. Looks high, but he's kicking low. Wham. Weili uses the right hand to force Joanna to retreat. Oh, I guess there are obviously UFC clips here as well. Trailing leg. That just hit me. Weili throws a right low kick. Oh, so nice. So nice. DeCoursey uses one of the most powerful strategies in MMA, timing the step. Side note, while timing the step is powerful and requires no athletic ability, the downside is that a fighter who uses it needs a tremendous amount of conditioning and discipline to maintain for 25 minutes. Remember, they are countering and timing the step, not punches or kicks. In a live combat situation, it's hard to maintain that level of concentration for long periods of time, as the fighter's attention will naturally deviate to the opponent's strikes. Both fighters are out of striking and kicking range. As soon as the opponent steps into striking range, DeCoursey preps her attack. Lovely lead hand control. Probing jab. Probing jab forces the opponent to the back half of the tracks, head, knee, and ankle aligned on the rear side. The probing jab has also prepared DeCoursey to load her rear side track while the opponent feels stuck due to being attacked on the step. Having her weight on the backside of her track backside of her tracks allows her to transition her weight to the front foot, leading to a powerful rear straight. Clang. Kapow. That's very nice indeed. Just in the zone. Henry Cejudo's knockout of Wilson Hayes is a good example of timing the step. This was it's just a phenomenal finish in general. This was when Henry's coming out party with his striking, no doubt. Out of striking range, as we have on the screen. But yeah, I remember being super impressed with this one. This was when I was like, all right, he's making the adjustments to be the champion. Opponent steps in while Cejudo preps the attack. Cejudo hits his opponent while the opponent is in the middle of transitioning his weight. Just wonderful. Just wonderful stuff. And yes, I know Hayes is also a teammate of Cruz's, but I do not have any specific feelings towards Wilson Hayes. DeCoursey's knockout of Van Zandt is another example of timing the step and what happens if you time the step while the opponent is in transition of putting their weight to the front foot. Opponent steps in with the foot in the air. DeCoursey preps the attack by shifting the weight the back half to the back half of the tracks before opponent's foot lands. Good night, LVZ. And here we are, the standard single leg defense, whizzer and foot outside connected to the opponent's leg. Goes to the far side. That was so wonderfully set up here. Just methodically working. Switches to the whizzer since the opponent goes for double. DeCoursey settles to fall on the near side hip. Sets up a beautiful butterfly sweep by pushing off the far side foot. Rolls through. Lovely step over into mount. Oh, it just all flowed. It just flowed so nicely. See the arm there from Delboni trying to stop it, but nope. Here's the thump. Gives up the back. Inserts both hooks from DeCoursey. Working. Punch. Trap the arm there on the left. Goes under with the right arm. Seeking the choke. Locking it in. It's under. Inserts the choke because the opponent tries to tripod. So we're not quite under the chin just yet, but she was sinking it slowly, like I was saying earlier. Right about on the chin. And they're going to fall here momentarily. Squeezing. Pull. Oh, there we go. We're locking it in now. Oh, boy. My consciousness is fading. I can't breathe, thinks Delboni. I need air to survive, but you're taking it away from me. Zillion, please. Don't strangle me to death. I would like to remain champion. Opponent is trying to get back to the mat. But, oh God, my throat is being crushed. Why are you doing this to me? I just want to live. Hooks prevent the opponent from getting back to the mat, and the hooks also prevent any shrimping. No seafood here. Okay, I don't want it anymore. That's it. The tap. Magnificent. I hope you guys enjoyed that additional bit of commentary from me right there. I couldn't help myself. And yes, no question, a part of this one this time because of the time constraints, as we've already gone over. So appreciate that greatly, Ghost. That was a very good one, as always, and a great performance from the champ indeed. And like I said, we'll try and get her here next week. I think that would be very fun to have. So they had great timing too, because no events to recap. So we can dedicate the first portion to kind of getting some questions in for her and whatnot. So yeah. Rue says these are so much more sweet when they come rarely and by surprise, right? So it gets you to tune in, for the potential surprises, right? So I don't know. Sammy says, are they coming back? But it might be better to get drawing the viewers this way, make you guys needing to come back just so you can see the potential for for these. Jimmy says, oh, that's what she said. Drake is goated. I try my best, man. This can't get in trouble with the fair use disclaimer. Well, yeah, I mean, so far so good. Rain says this is effing awesome. Love to hear it. Jelly Bean is a great striker now, right? She's improved a whole lot, clearly. So, yes, a lovely kick, says Rain. Cejudo cameo, indeed. That Whaley right low kick, though. Wonderful stuff. Side note, wasn't as naughty as I thought it would be. Indeed. I thought Spicy Ghost would make an appearance. I mean, for this one, I didn't really expect it, but you have to brace yourself. You never know. Time and step, it's hard when you get tired. Yes, are these back for good? Zhao says, I don't know. What an incredible way to end the show. Oh, Alvin, love to hear it. Jimmy says, I wonder what question Ghost has it already knows the answer to. So, yeah, he didn't have one this time, as he forewarned me. Jeff says, get better soon, Drake. You sound sick. I have been I've been a little under the weather. Thanks for noticing, Zhao, and wishing me well. But I am kind of at the end of it. Yeah, I've been I noticed I started feeling a little bit, not great at the end of Saturday. So I'm feeling better now today, just a little stuffed in the nose. And I think it's just the transition from summer to with the fall, right? So I'll be okay. And Jimmy says, "Oh, Drake shrimping is a jiu-jitsu move." I know that. I was making a joke about the term, though. Of course I know that, Jimmy. Come on. As Yo says, congrats to Jillian. Indeed. Lionheart, Jilly Bean, friend of the show, one of the best co-hosts you could ask for. So yes, we'll try and get the champ on next week. That is what I'm planning to. I'll probably hit her up right after this. Actually, I haven't messaged her yet, so I will do that. But in the meantime, you guys, that is a wrap. That puts a bow on this one. We went 10 minutes over, but it was still fun. There was so much to talk about. My goodness, this was actually a very fun, good show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you did as well. Do not forget, you guys, MMAmania.com for all your MMA needs. And don't forget to follow us, like, share, and subscribe on the video on all platforms or wherever we may be. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a gosh darn thing. So yeah, lots going on right now. Obviously, working on setting up some things here. Got some big ones out now. Today, dropped my interview with Justin Gaethje. You can find that over on Combat Culture's YouTube channel, but that is on MMAmania.com. There is an article out now for that, which has the video in it too. You can find that in the interviews playlist here on this channel. You can find it on my channel in the chat/interviews playlist. So it is all right front and center and everything right now, but it is uploaded on Combat Culture's YouTube channel. But you can just go to MMAnia. It should be right on the homepage still. And we'll have another story coming out from that tomorrow. But you can see the full thing now. Nice and out. So Justin Gaethje, most exciting fighter of all time for my money. Great guy, great chat there. And yeah, I think that's kind of the only thing to plug. I did do a very special personal thing over on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go see that interview I did with the director of Barbarian. If you guys are into horror and have heard of that new movie, there are spoilers included. So don't watch it if you haven't seen the movie yet, or if you want to skip around. There are timestamps that I placed, but that was a dream come true for me for reasons that you would find out in the interview, in the conversation, the hour-long chat with Zach Kreger, the director of Barbarian. So fantastic new movie. It was number one in America for a couple weeks there. So if you're into horror and thrillers, definitely check out that movie. And yeah, check out the chat because it was very fun. One of my favorite things I've gotten to do, for sure, far and away. So had to mention that at least. But I think that's it. I think that's it for the plugs. Just Gaethje and Kreger. So two very big ones for me personally. And I mean, look, Broaden Horizon episode 20, that is in production, and that's a huge episode too, you guys. So that is, I'm expecting to have that out next week, aiming for Monday. I still have 2, maybe 3, we'll see, 2 or 3 guests to talk to. But there's a lot in this episode that's very funny, very interesting, and very just absurd possibilities. You'll understand what I mean more when you see it, but it is shaping up to be one of my favorite episodes of Broaden Horizon. Episode 20. My goodness, 20 episodes now. How insane. So that's going to be coming very shortly as we get ready for Horizon 39 later this month. So yeah, I guess that's it, you guys. That's all I got. Follow me at DrakeRiggs _ on Twitter and Instagram, of course, if you would like. But Jimmy says start off bad but end well. Ouch, man. Well, I appreciate the honesty at least, but ouch. Alvin says shameless plug, Mr. Riggs. Yes, always, my man. And Zhao says, hey, I saw that interview. Your favorite comedian. Well, I appreciate that so much that you watched it. That really does mean a lot to me, Zhao. Yeah, I mean, he's not necessarily my favorite comedian, but definitely one of my favorite, people in comedy of all time. I grew up with the guy watching his show in middle school and high school, and then he goes out and makes this movie, and it's a really good movie. It's just kind of crazy. And then I've been watching all of his, he does things kind of like this, a little bit different, obviously. Has been doing them since 2020 now, so I've been watching all of those, and just following his career very closely. So it was really really crazy getting to talk with him. So it was a very big deal for me, a dream come true, really. And she says, I have a great memory for remembering specific fights. Well, I appreciate that as well. I try. My memory is getting worse with age, for sure. And just the more I pack into my noggin, but I do my best. I really do my best. And Rue says, Broad Horizon is Ryzen's promo platform that is ran by Drake. Well, I hope it's a good one, Rue. I hope it's a good one. I definitely do my best with it. And Jess says, weren't you too young to watch his movies, Mr. 27-year-old? Yes, I mean, if you have seen any of The Whitest Kids You Know, which was the show that he had, and his first movie, Miss March, definitely a little bit not for younger people, that's for sure. So yes, I was very rebellious. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I couldn't help myself. So I was exposed to some things maybe a little bit too young, but I turned out all right, didn't I? And Rue says it's the best thing that Ryzen does. Well, that definitely is very, very kind of you, sir. But all right, you guys, this has been a really fun Wednesday episode. Again, Tuesday is the day. Tuesday is the day. All right. I know we're here on Wednesday again. Same time, 12 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. I just have like a lot going on around me, like physically, like there's construction going on outside. It was very noisy yesterday, and then just some other things in my personal life and juggling all this shit I'm doing. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me and still showing up. It really does mean a lot, and being able to have a good fun time like this one. I really I enjoyed today's episode. I enjoy them all, getting to hang out with you guys. But just want to let you know, as always, it means a lot. They would show up for little old me and talking about these crazy things that happen in the world of MMA. So until next week, everybody, remember to stay positive as best as you can, but be true to yourself, right? If you don't like something, that's okay. But hey, that doesn't mean you have to go and be mean or a dickhead about it. Just think about the positives and feel happy for the person. Be happy for people succeeding, and use it as motivation in your own life. And remember that if things aren't maybe going well for you, it's always going to get better. All right. There's no end. Every bumpy road has its end. How about that? Yeah. So stay positive, you guys. Stay safe and stay sane. Hope you enjoy this weekend. Another MMA break. I mean, we had some action, last week or the other week, but this time we have a bigger break. So enjoy that. Go do some stuff. Get outside. Hang out with friends and all that. And I'll see you next week on Tuesday. That's the plan. But if not, I will definitely put something out there, of course, in terms of changes. But that we're aiming to stick on track. So now I'm dragging on, but I just wanted to say that to you guys. So all right, I will leave you to it. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week.